Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Dychronic, you're here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to talk about the Xur, his location, his random rolls, my recommendations for August 21st, 2020. You can find the Xur in his regular location on the EDZ, so just head over to the Winding Cove, make your way on top of this cliffside, and you'll be able to find the Xur over there. Let's try this again. And you'll be able to find the Xur on top of this little cliffside right here. You can see that's where the public event starts, that's where the chest is, that's for me. And this is where he is, right next to this red boy right here. This is a high overview of his inventory, in case this is all you cared about. For the weapon today, we have the Lord of Wolves, which I unfortunately do not actually have an ornament for. The ornament makes it look very Siva and very, very cool. This weapon actually is also a very cool and very useful weapon as well. Now, it used to be ridiculously powerful in PvP. Nowadays, it's not very powerful at all for PvP, but in PvE, it still holds a lot of great DPS. However, not as much as it used to be. Now, if you've never heard of it, it's basically like a pulse rifle plus a shotgun where it fires a burst of 5 straight shooting slugs, but it's also short range shotgun kind of damage. And plus that, there's also a perk called Release the Wolves. When you hold down the reload button, you swap to a longer, meaning 10 shots in a burst, more powerful burst, meaning that each one of those shots does more damage. So you're shooting faster and you're doing more damage with each shot. So in the past, people have always resorted to just using Release the Wolves because it is just doing more damage, more DPS, faster. Now, there is a bit of an issue with the ammo economy, which they've nerfed a couple different times, and they've also nerfed how this weapon is used. So nowadays, when you're firing the weapon normally, it's pretty stable. You fire the weapon, and then with the Release the Wolves version, it's very, very inaccurate, flying every different way, and unless the enemy is literally touching you, you're gonna be missing shots with it. And to prove that, I decided to pull a Lord of Wolves out and actually show you how that worked, because this was something they did change about a season ago. So I'm using mouse and keyboard, so it will be a lot more stable right now than with the controller. So this is the regular, without resisting. And if I hold down the reload button, and again, point down and fire, do you see the shot went over there? Because in the end, you're more likely to get more headshots with firing it regularly. I find that I just perform better without using the Release the Wolves version. And you also use less ammo, so it's kind of a bit of a broken weapon where it's not made correctly. I still think they need to come back and touch on this weapon again. However, I still think this is a good weapon with good DPS, and coming this weekend when I do my PvE special DPS test charts, you'll be able to see exactly that with the crit factor, which will apply to how inaccurate the Release the Wolves version is. Up next, we have the Hunter exotic known as Young AHAMKARA'S Spine. It increases the trip mine grenade duration and blast radius. Ability damage also grant trip mine grenade energy. Ability damage includes that special melee knife, includes the grenade itself, and I do think it also includes the super. The main strategy with this in PvP, where this exotic shines, is to throw down the trip mine grenade and the proximity explosive knife from Way of the Outlaw, which is the 6-shot golden gun, and when an enemy comes by, they die instantly. Because the trip mine usually does around 95% of an enemy's health. If you have an extra explosion there, you're gonna get a kill. As far as the roll goes, primary and resilience is not really what you're looking for, especially in PvP. For everything else, I'd like to see more in discipline and strength for this particular exotic, and of course more in recovery for PvP. So a pretty bad roll, a good stat total, but a pretty bad roll for maybe an averaging exotic. For the Titan exotic, we have the Eternal Warrior. Used to be what I call the worst exotic in the game. I did have a misunderstanding about it. I thought it just gave you 1 extra shot with that overshield in your super, but that's not actually true. It gives you 4 extra shots from a 150 hand cannon, which is pretty significant, bringing you up to a 10 headshot kill, which is really strong, making you a very, very resistant super. And on top of that, the overshield actually recharges. So if you get damage at the beginning of your super, you can actually get that to slowly recharge over the rest of your super. The general idea here is right when you're about to use your super, swap to this exotic, use it, then swap off of it. But even then, it feels like a lot of work, and I'd rather just stick with what I got with One-Eyed Mask or whatever I'm using at the particular moment. As far as the roll goes, a primary and recovery is definitely what you'd like to see for PvP. Everything else seems pretty straight across the board. Like to see a lot more in intellect for this particular exotic, but you know, total stat 63, good recovery, bad resilience. That's exactly what you want to see for stuff in PvP. So I'll say a pretty good roll for maybe a below average exotic, which does have an ornament to make it look a bit more like this. And finally, for the Warlock exotic, we have the ASTROCYTE verse. Hold on a second. There we go. The ASTROCYTE verse. Just add a little bit of color in here. This is actually an exotic that I think is quite underrated by the community. I actually have it in my top 10 for Warlock exotics. Never heard of it. Its main perk makes you blink farther and more frequently when obviously you're using the blink jump, and weapons ready quickly out of blink, and radar remains up. Now, I don't know about you, but a lot of my PvP buddies have been telling me this is not really that great of an exotic, but it actually looks like it really is. Because if you played Destiny 1 as long as me, you would know that Hunters and Warlock blinking is absolutely annoying and is really effective at getting you in there for shotgun blinking. And the same is actually true in Destiny 2. Now, they did mention that it's worse in Destiny 2 as far as direct blink goes. I find that it's not really that much different, and with this exotic, it allows you to blink further, more frequently, your weapon ready immediately, and you keep your radar, which is everything that we ever wanted at a blink in Destiny 1, which we have in this exotic. Now, it does definitely take some getting used to, but it's definitely an exotic you should try out because it could lead to some high skill performance ceilings. But please, just don't use it on me, because I will rage very hard, and I will complain about it on Twitter. Yes, that's right. So what are you gonna do about it? As far as the role goes, good mobility, that's exactly what you like to see this exotic. More intellect, not really what you want. Like to see more mobility and more recovery, because that's what it's based on. Maybe even more strength, because you're gonna be in close range. So maybe like a below average role for a very above average exotic. Outside of that, make sure you're picking up your 5 swords for high scoring nightfalls in the regular nightfalls, picking up your Invitation of the Nine for some powerful gear, as well as lore if you don't have it, and of course the exotic engram, which guarantees you an exotic that you do not have from any of the world drops, and it'll drop an exotic that has a high stat roll. So I'm on my Titan, so I got a Titan exotic to drop, and this is going to be a high stat roll of 64. You can see here that it's high mobility, recovery, and strength, which is honestly perfect for this exotic. I would like to see more intellect, because I personally like the super part of it, but like, this is a really good roll. Like, you can see my old Syntheseps is 48, nowhere near it. Seems like we got ourselves a new Syntheseps, all right. But I gotta be honest with you, this thing looks ugly without the ornament. Yeah, the ornament looks cool though, look at that. Anyways, that's gonna be the end of the video. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions, concerns, you just wanted to say hi, you just like Blue Jay. Let me know in the comments down below. I love how that rhymes and all that. But anyways, that is the end of it. Make sure you come check out my live streams that I have right after these streams. I'm going to try to move it over to 1 p.m. rather than the 12 p.m. that you can see on the screen. So keep that in mind, because I need to have lunch. Apparently having food and sustenance is a thing that, you know, human beings are interested in these days. But yeah, that's going to be the end of it. You guys did it. My name is Dychronic, and I will see you guys, give me finishing, on the next one. And another example, in case you didn't believe me about Release the Wolves. Didn't hit him once. I didn't hit him once. I hit him once. It's really not that good. And I realize that I'm not really that close, but come on. Even then, I missed. Like, it takes so much effort to hit. I'm just saying.